Good evening and welcome to another edition of African Americans Ain't Africans, the Think Show that proves without a shadow of a doubt that the so-called African American didn't find his way to America in the trunk of a ship. I'm your host, the Indigenous one, and tonight we're going to hit a crucial subject that we all got to be keyed in on, especially what's going on and we seeing what's happening now, because we always talk about here at African Americans Ain't Africans. We're talking about things that most of the people or most of the things that are shown to the so-called African American is really nothing to be talked about. So what we do here at African American, we talk about things so we can think about what's coming our way and how we should be looking at it. Now, many of you pretend that you're Greek, you're Christians, you're Moors, you're all of these ideologies. And all that does is cause confusion. So if we took you, let's say you 25 years old, and you call and ask, well, how do I know if I'm indigenous or not? Simple. Who's your grandma? Who was her mother? Who was her mother? You search back to where all the lies come through. We all get here through our mothers. So if you want to find out if you are indigenous or not, who you come from, did your mama, did your grandmama, did your great grandmama come from somewhere else? And most people, who are call themselves African Americans, most of the time you ask them that, and they say no. So where were these peoples from? Who were these people? And when you start thinking, and hopefully you start to do that, you'll start to see, oh, well, my great grandma was from Clarksdale, Arizona. Clarksdale, Mississippi. Lived there. Who were the people that lived there? It wasn't called Clarksdale's then. Find out what that area was, and that's how you find your people. The things that we share are simple, but the African American has been trained to be non-thinking, don't think about nothing, just waiting for his master to come tell him what to do. That's how the African American thinks. If you see it another way, please give us a call at 213-269-9469. But we just trying to give you the reality so we won't have to keep going through the same bullshit that we go through every day, listening to folks. You just had this trial for this officer that murdered this dude in Minneapolis. See, we shouldn't be happy about that for the simple fact you're still their prisoners. See how they let a little steam off by tearing stuff with you? They let a little steam off by thinking you get some. And some people even say that wasn't even Derek Chauvin on trial. This is what I mean we got to think about. Stop letting other people tell you what's reality when it's not reality at all. And you start thinking what they saying is real, and you just become confused. And what you do is confuse everybody you come in contact with. Tonight, we want to welcome Rick Moon with us tonight, because Rick Moon, he's always talking to us about the natural world and things that we got away from. So we're going to spend this next hour talking about that, and let us give us some insight on indigenous people, how we should be living, what we should be doing, what we should be looking out for, all those things. So Rick, are you there? Rick Moon, are you there? So he hasn't got here yet. But it's very important to know as indigenous people what we got to be doing. And one of the things we shouldn't be doing is acting artificial and dumb all the time. Because see, the African American, you have to remember, and I say this every week, the African American is not a real person. An African American, they don't have their own They don't have their own calendar. The African American don't have their own holidays. The African American don't make their own clothes. The African American, their job, period. And please, I mean, I can show it to you. The African American job is to sit and keep his mouth shut until somebody tells him he can talk. That's what the African American does. The African American doesn't have any courthouses where they can take people who wronged him to court. The African American wasn't living and breathing in 1975. The African American doesn't have any schools or colleges that they made up for themselves. The African American will even tell you that his grandmama wasn't even called an African American. Now, to somebody else, that would be offensive. You're not going to get a German person. He's going to tell you that his grandmama was German. You're going to get an Italian person. He's going to tell you that his grandmama was Italian. You're going to get a Nigerian person, and they're going to tell you that their grandmother was Nigerian. You get an African American person, every one of them you ask, they will tell you their grandmama was something different than the African American. And they're not fazed by it at all. They're cool with it. You see, the African American now, it's the new year now. Not for the African American. The African American's New Year's is when his master's New Year's is. That's just how it is. The African American doesn't think for himself. He waits for his master to tell him what to do, right or wrong. If you go ahead and be honest about it, then you can start to change it. But with the African American, anytime truth is put in front of him, they'll bitch and whine and cry and still won't answer the question. This is the African American. So as far as the indigenous world goes, the African American is not a part of it at all. Matter of fact, scared of anything natural. Try taking a hike with some African Americans when it's getting dark and watch what he does. Now here he is, the incredulous Rick Moon. What's going on, Rick?
Hey, no, sorry I'm late, man. I had to make a quick run right fast. Uh, how's everybody out there in America doing? How y'all doing, America? Hope y'all doing fine. Um, today we was gonna talk about what it means to be indigenous because I think a lot of us take it for granted. I know a lot of us are very happy about being indigenous and everything, but there's layers to it. I mean, you just can't call yourself indigenous and then everything's just gonna fall on you. There's certain responsibility that comes with being indigenous. But before I get to that, eh, eh, I'm sorry. I apologize, but if I may, I'm gonna go on a little rant here.
Well, Rick, before you get started, let me ask you a question before you get started, and then I'm just going to let you have it. What are a few things that we take in nature that we take for granted that we don't even pay attention to or don't think is important?
Man, I'm tell you, man. Basically, almost everything, starting with the simplest thing, the connection. I mean, we take the connection for granted. For one thing, I mean, we're connected to all these things here in America, and I we don't seem to care or even try. I mean, and I'm not talking about the people, that's listening tonight because they pretty much know, but a lot of people, most of our people don't know this. And it's funny because this stuff, uh, I learned when I was in the fourth or fifth grade in science class that oxygen comes from the trees and that you need oxygen to breathe. I mean, so I knew the connection then, and now here we are, all these times later, and this people my age, and I'm 62, and this people my age that don't even know that, you know. So we gotta really start um, taking this stuff for granted because uh, just because you're indigenous don't mean that everything is hunky dory and everything's gonna change, and you're gonna have to make that change, help make that change, and we're gonna have to do it as a collective. Can't do it as one person, so some of the things that we got to do, you know, uh, there's we got to be as indigenous people. We got to start acting indigenous because I'm not trying to be hard or anything, but I don't think we act like indigenous people because number one, indigenous people they're here to the laws of nature, and I'm not even sure that 5% of our people know this, and it's all about them. You know, we are the ones that's supposed to be, and we also are the ones that's supposed to be taking care of this. And when I mean taking care of this, I'm talking about we're supposed to be taking care of each other. We're supposed to be taking care of all of Mother Earth creations. We have a responsibility to all of that. See, we another thing we take for granted. We think that that the Earth is here for us. No, it's different. You here for the Earth because that's basically what you are—a replica of her. All of her creations are replicas of her. Every last one of her creations. That is. Now, there's a few things here that she didn't create, and now because that's another thing that people gotta that we gotta get straight. You know, everything is not everything created here was not created naturally. As a matter of fact, you can look up the word artificial, and it'll tell you the first thing it'll say is something not made naturally. And then when they start getting into the meaning of it, the first thing it says is man-made. You know, and see, that's one of the things that we get mixed up in too. We got to know the words. We got to know which words go with what. It, I'm telling you, it's layers. It's layers to the stuff. It's a lot of different things you got to know. A lot of different things you got to know.
Like what?
And well, you got to. Well, I give you. Here's another thing. A lot of people, I hear a lot of people. They want to go to people like the government, the United Nations. Still, I hear people talking about stuff like that. Well, I'm sorry, but nobody gonna do nothing for you if you're not doing it. None of them gonna do it. You Nobody's gonna is gonna give you anything, and you're not doing what you say. You say you're indigenous people. You're supposed to be living indigenous. You indigenous people don't take people shots, other people's shots, because indigenous people cures are in nature. Every
So this,
last one
this
of them.
so this is what I want to know, man. Everything you said is just common stuff. If I asked you if a monkey goes to get a shot, everything for the monkey is in nature. Everything for the bird is in nature. I mean, no dogs go to a grocery store. No wolves go to a grocery store. And this is the way we used to
No, they
live.
don't.
And this is
Nope,
the way
they
we
don't go
used
to
to
net.
live.
No, and they know where they know where, and they know exactly where food is, and they know what is food. And that's another thing about being indigenous, especially with what's going on today. It might be one day where they might let us go, and we're gonna have to fend for ourselves. That's another reason why you should know nature, because to tell you a little secret, if you see the animals eating it, you could eat it. That's a great indicator of what is edible and what is not, because that's another thing. Your food. That's another thing that Mother Earth provided for you was food.
And
Your
today now
stuff is
we
already here, but we want to do other things. You, you can't like right now, the dandelion up. We should be picking them. We should be picking them, teas, making tinctures, the red clover is coming up. It's not ready yet, because it hasn't changed color yet. It's still white. But all of these things, this is food and medicine. This stuff we're supposed to be dealing with. Nobody's shots and nobody's pills, but we just,
why is it taking so
we
long
got
for
we,
us
we
to
got to we got
understand?
to change that. And I'm telling you, I don't care what you do, how much history you find, how much genealogy you do. I don't care how much of that stuff you do. You can do it all you want to. Eventually, if we want to stay viable as a people on Mother Earth, we're gonna have to adhere to her laws, because we ain't
So
doing
Rick,
that right now.
so Rick, let
Give
me
you a
ask you
perfect
this.
example. All these Christians, they sitting here, they can't even go to church.
So let me
I
ask you a
thought
question.
God was the one Almighty. I thought God was ruling things. God didn't tell you not to go to church. God didn't close all these churches up.
So let me ask you this, Rick.
So
Why do
we
you
got
why do you think we're
that
so
we gotta change. We gotta start acting like who we are, because and another thing, you get more respect when you act like who you are. When you wear your indigenous garb, which very few of us do. When you celebrate the indigenous ceremonies, when you do those ceremonies, when
let me
people
ask
see all this stuff, this is where you get your respect from. When they see you doing your own, when they see you supplying your own food, taking care of your own females and children, your own government, your own army. This is when people gonna respect you. This is when you're gonna start getting things to happen. This is when things are gonna start happening for you. You can't sit there and just wait and see what they're gonna do, like we've been doing. Like they just had this what is this? They just had made this law. What is it? HR 40. They just passed it to whereas they gonna talk about reparations, not give no reparations. Talk about it. Now this been going on since the '70s with what's the guy name? He just died not too long ago. He was a senator up in Michigan.
Conyers. Conyers.
God, I can't think of the fella's name.
Conyers.
But he been trying to get this done ever since the '70s, and they just now passing it. And all it is to talk about reparations. Man just gave the Native Americans $31 billion of our money. That was our money.
So let me ask you something, Rick. Why do you think we're so
And we just
detached
sit
from the
back
natural world?
and we don't do nothing. But we'll celebrate this whatever this guy up in Minnesota uh getting found guilty on all accounts. We sitting there, we celebrating that while everybody else stepping on us.
Why do you think we're so detached from the natural world, Rick?
You know, there was somebody put a video on somebody made a post in the group. It had Tariq Nasheed on it, and he was talking about rap. He was talking about how they messed up rap, how the East Coast West Coast thing started in the '90s when they started to bring over a lot of these rappers from the Caribbean. So you got all these Caribbean people and all these brothers and sisters from here going at each other's throats, just going at each other's throats over this. Same people too. We the same people. Y'all can talk about them Jamaicans and all them Caribbean people stuff all you want. We all the same people. I know people right here in Charlotte that's got relatives in some of those islands. I don't that I know of, but I know other people that do. That got relatives right down in them islands. Ain't never been there before in their life. And the relatives ain't never been here. They ain't never had they don't have the accent, the Jamaican accent, and the Jamaicans don't have this accent. Our accent. Which another thing that people didn't know, that was also our accent too. We had the same. So all you people that like to pick at them on how they talk, that used to be our accent too. Until we learned the Englishman's English, gentleman's English, how to speak that. You know, so these are things that we gotta start knowing, and we gotta be a collective. Indigenous people work in a collective. They don't work individually. They work in a collective.
Can you hear me, Rick?
And until we start doing some of these things, I don't care what you do. It ain't gonna work. We ain't gonna get where we need to be. And we definitely ain't gonna get where we need to be if we depend on somebody else to do it for us. Definitely ain't gonna get there that way. So man, hey, it's time for us to start being who we say we are. It's time for us to start acting like it. Time for us to start dressing like it, talking like it, all of that. That's how you proud people distinguish themselves from everybody else. Am I correct, Indigenous?
Yes, you are.
You there?
Yeah, I'm here. One of the questions I wanted to ask you, Rick Moon, is what do you think? Why do you think we're so detached from the natural world? I mean, because we get our oxygen from the natural world, we get our water from the natural world. Why is it that why you think we're so detached? And not only are we detached, we act like it ain't got nothing to do with us.
Well, because I can you hear me? Because I can't hear you that well. I can
Can you
hear
hear
you
me?
you clear, but it's real low.
You can't hear me?
Now I can hear you, but it's kind of low. I was just want to know if you can hear me. I can hear you. It's you clear, but it's low, very low.
I hear you fine.
Oh, okay, okay. Well, I can hear you, so I can go ahead and talk. Uh, well, that's basically because we thought we decided that foreigners had a better deal. We decided they, what they had to offer was better than what we had.
And
So,
we still and
so
we
we,
still on
so we
that kick,
went
huh?
away. We went away from a lot of that stuff. Went away from all the stuff that our ancestors did, and started, and we started to accept the ways of the foreigners.
Do you think that the so-called African American, do you think they will ever get back to living a natural lifestyle or getting back to the ways of their ancestors?
Of course, you can. I mean, with people like us, spreading the word and people taking heed to it. Of course we can. Nothing's over until it's over. So I would like to be positive on that and think that, yeah, that's we have time, but we don't have much time, because with the stuff that's going on, today, they put nanotechnology in everybody's body, they trying to make everybody zombies, robots and stuff. So, uh, we still got time, but it's going away pretty quick.
One of the things that I've noticed, or what I do, one of the things that I notice is the younger generation. And when I say younger, I'm talking about, let's say, 25 through 35. They're really up on things where I was 25 and 35, I didn't have a clue of. And these youngsters are way up on it, and the elder people don't seem to know nothing. What do you attribute that to?
Well, as far as the youngsters go, I attribute that to things not going right and them seeing that things ain't going right. I mean, the, the things that they were taught ain't working for them. So,
Right.
so that's why they are. And uh the as far as the elders go, a lot of us is just stuck in our ways, man. A lot of us just stuck in our ways, and to be honest with you, a lot of us sold out too for money. Shoot, they told you they'd take, because like, because if you was born before 1950, you fine. But if you were born after 1950, you might have a problem.
Yeah, I see a lot of people who worked in the system for a long time. A lot of them are now complaining that they're not able to get their pensions and stuff for whatever reason. You think that's part of it?
Oh yeah, what they're starting to do is they're starting to get bolder and bolder. See, as long as we sit here and not do nothing, the bolder and bolder they're gonna get, and the more they're gonna move. Like, and speaking of that pension stuff, you made me think of what's that clown name? That old crazy hair, Cornell West,
Yes.
and his situation. But yeah, we need to yeah, our these young folks, they see something wrong, so they hey now. Unfortunately, there's not enough of people to help everybody to get them on the right track. But at least they know something wrong, and at least they're going to try to do something, to change things, because we won't do that. So I have to give them some credit for that, because we've been voting Democrat for 80 years, ain't never got nothing, and we still voting for
See, that's what I mean about being detached from nature. How I don't see it. How don't we see this?
them. Ooh, that's a toughie there. Because it was once upon a time I didn't see it either. So yeah, I don't know. That's a hard one there. The kind of answer.
So could it be okay? Let's say when you didn't see it. So you're moving through your life, and it became a part in your life where you was like, hey, something ain't right. And then you started, going to different avenues to learn new stuff. Is that how it happens for all of us? Is this just a big old classroom where we just learn and move on? And if you don't learn it, you stay in the same spot. How does that work?
Mm. Well, what you have to do is, hopefully, all of us will, and we know this stuff. I mean, we know that we have to reach out. We have to reach out to people. Reach out to other people who might not know. But we rather hold secrets and stuff. I mean, I got family members right now that's got ideas that could help out a whole bunch of other family members, but they keep them to themselves. I know a whole bunch of people like that. That's another thing about us. We've become selfish, and selfish is not a product of our of who we are. Selfish
I
is
mean,
not one of the things that indigenous people do. We
well,
always
the
work together.
well, the African American sure do lives in it, in that selfish reality.
Oh yes, they do, and black folks too.
Okay, so what have we lost? From our indigenous heritage, from Americans, what have we lost trying not to be that?
We've lost everything. Basically, we've lost everything. I mean, we don't have okay. We don't have a home. That's the main thing. We don't have a home, or we think we don't have a home. I'll put it that way. We do, but we think we don't because we adhere to somebody else's rules, and we went away from our law, the laws that our elders taught us, into abiding by somebody else's.
People send me videos. I mean, it's a lot of other people, foreigners that's trying to say that we're not the indigenous people. And these African Americans, they jump on those people's side to help them say that we're not the indigenous people.
See, see, that's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying. That when you lose all connection, and like myself, for instance, when I wake up and I open my door and look outside, I see home. I see my home. I mean, I look at all the trees. I look at all the animals. I look at the soil and everything. looks like me. As a matter of fact, we see that's another thing that we lost contact of. We think that we're something better than everything else on this planet just because we have the highest intelligence. But it don't work that
What do
way.
you mean by that? What do you mean by that? The highest intelligence.
Well, we our our thinking is more higher than any other creature on this earth. I mean, and when we put our mind to who could defeat us, what on this planet can defeat us uh as far as everything Mother Nature's creature, nothing can defeat us because we have the highest intelligence. We might not be the biggest, we might not be the strongest, we might not be the fastest, but we have the highest intelligence. And that gives us an advantage over everybody else, over everything else in nature. But and we feel this that way. We think that we come in a different, but the animals get that they get their oxygen from the same place you get yours from. And just like the plants get carbon dioxide from the animals, they get it from the people too.
Yeah, because I'm noticing that ever since that integration thing went down, the so-called if you look at the so-called African American, they're just like the people mostly. I'm not saying they are, but everything they do is like the people who murdered Emmett Till. Well, now, of course, I'm not saying every single African American is like that, but when you look at the African American, what they do, the stuff they say, how they dress, everything about them is so far away from what their grandparents or great grandparents did. It makes people come over here, the new foreigners, show no respect. And it seems like the African American gets their training from those people, new people. That's what I'm seeing.
I agree. I agree. And what's funny about it, man, you know for yourself, we're the as far as our attire goes, nobody's close. And and it fits everything. It fits us. The our attire fits our whole body shape, everything. You look at them. You look at those. You look at those 499 Indians with all this garb on and stuff, and you exchange that with them, and you wear their stuff, and you put it on, man. You'll make them look sick in it. You make them look sick. That's another thing. We give everybody else credit for for what belongs to us.
I like to tell the people listening, if you really want to see how bad you was, go back to about the 1850s, 1840s. Around that time. When the camera first started coming into fruition, and look at the clothes that the brothers and sisters was wearing, and realize that the sisters were making the clothes. It'll blow your mind. And so I understand, Rick, what you're saying about, the clothes and everything that we do. I mean, the shoes and everything.
I mean, and it all was made to fit your body type. I mean, everything. And it was and the worst thing about it, the females looked so they were so beautiful and they looked so sexy, but they wasn't showing everything. They didn't have half of their cheeks sticking out, boobs everywhere. They didn't have all of that. They didn't do all of that. But they look even more sexy.
You bringing that up brings a point. I just got somebody sent me something, and a lot. I get in it. I get in it too. I get in with a lot of people, a lot of foreigners, because they don't want this information out, because they use the Negro like toilet paper, and the African American doesn't mind. So this one cat from Africa sent me a video of his sister. I guess she was coming over there to get some land. And this is what I mean, how we're just, not only are we ignorant, we're arrogant about it. So this sister goes over to Africa. I guess she's trying to get some land or something. The Africans wasn't going to sell her the land. They were just going to use her like they use her at home. So the sister was, I mean, she was one of them sisters, talk to the hand, just a real asshole.
Right.
So she told the African dude, I came all over here and you got this pussy and blah blah. And the African looked at her and was like, pussy? I was gonna get that anyway. That's all you got to give. Now take your ass back to America. And the sister didn't say nothing, but I could imagine what was going on in her mind at that time. You think all these foreigners are for you, but they're just using you. And this goes for the men too. and
Oh
all
yeah.
and you do this. You make sure that they can use you at their luxury,
Hmm.
and they kick you out of their home, and you come back here trying to get back with the brothers here. No, baby, this is what I'm saying. This is what I'm saying. This is what it needs to be indigenous. You can't go to Africa and get nothing. They know that's not your home. But your dumb ass over here, that's the motherland. And your mama look nothing like them. This is the African American. We keep trying to act like they something kind of special or doing something. Your only point in life, because you don't pronounce nothing in life for yourself. You don't build nothing for yourself. You don't have your own holidays. You don't do nothing. You do what other people tell you to do. That's the African American, right or wrong?
And another thing that we gotta learn, and I've talked about this before too. Man, we gotta learn the language, man. We gotta learn what these words mean, man, and how they're being used. In uh. So like I'll give you an example. I'll give you an example. Me myself. I'm trying to be, like I said, indigenous people are uh distinctive from everybody else. They're different from everybody else, and that's how I want to be. And to me, that's what makes us great. And it's just certain words. It's words, man, that we use, man. And I'm talking about, these are words that we use, that some of the greatest minds that we got are using these words, but they just don't fit to me. And I'll give you an example. The word melanated. I cannot stand that word, because we're not the only melanated people in this world. And the other melanated people, they can't stand you either.
Check.
But we always trying to put ourselves with somebody else that don't even like us. So I don't use words like that. People of color. I don't use that crap. All of us got color anyway. And if you knew what color really meant, it means hidden. So I mean, and another thing you can't do, you can't use artificial words with nature. You cannot use it. Science and nature don't go together. Science is man-made. Nature is made by Mother Earth.
So let me ask you something, Rick. Why is it so many of us we look to science as if it's God or something? Why do we do that?
I don't know, man. I because we, I mean, like I say, we like we've been talking about the whole show. We've neglected our own and accepted somebody else's. We did our people didn't create no science. Our people our elders wasn't talking about no genes and genomes and chromosomes and haplogroups and all this stuff. They weren't talking about no. They wasn't telling you that stuff. And do you know why they wasn't telling you that stuff?
Tell us, Rick.
Because it wasn't important. It wasn't important. They was telling you how to survive out here. What trees out here that you can use for food, and what trees you can use for medicine. What plants? Same purpose. They even taught you how to communicate. We even knew how to communicate with all of nature. We used to know how to communicate with the animals too, and they still know you.
And when you look at them, though, what's funny about the animals is how they look at you, because you're right about that. They know us, but when they look at us, especially if you go to where they are in abundance, the look they give you is like that side-eyed dog, man.
Yeah, yeah. It's like, what y'all waiting on? What's wrong with y'all? When y'all gonna wake up? That's what these animals looking like.
Yeah.
You know, and they're like, man, why? How y'all let people do y'all like that? And another thing, when you was talking about the animals not going to grocery stores and stuff like that, how many of them you see with masks on?
None.
And how many of them? And how many of these animals are they talking about? That see, like I told you, we have a connection, just like we have the same connection that the animals do. Why come these animals ain't falling from COVID or some form of COVID?
I think they're just trying to see who the obedient people are.
I agree. I agree with that.
And what I'm noticing now with the African American, you cannot get a more obedient slave than the African American, right or wrong.
Hmm.
I mean, because African American, if boss says it, Jesus Christ may as well have said it.
Oh yeah.
So in being indigenous, Rick, what are some of the things that we do now that we can replace that with, from the natural world? What are some of the things in the natural world we can inculcate into our lives today?
A lot of things. Just like I said, the red clovers are coming out. I see all these little, and if you don't know what red clover is these little three leaf clovers and 4 leaf clovers that you see on the ground all the time, and then the little flowers grow on. They be white, but eventually they turn red. And when they turn red, that's the best time to harvest them. And they're good for all. I can't quite remember everything that it does, all of medicinal properties of it, but it does a lot of. One thing is that it kills parasites. One thing that red clover does. Again, like I said, the dandelions are starting to come out now. You know, uh, like I think I said a couple of weeks ago, that we need to start being, especially now that it's springtime. We need to walk barefooted more often, get acclimated with the earth. Go hug a tree. Go hug something indigenous.
And
I'm telling you,
there,
you got a connection. You got a connection. All of and grow your gardens. And when you grow your gardens, talk to your plants. Y'all, you would be surprised how much these plants and animals respond to you. You'd be very surprised. You don't see it.
so now that we're in the new year, what are some of the things you can share with us that we can start getting into as we move into the summer that we should be comfortable with knowing?
What you mean? I mean,
Okay, so like so we're in the spring, so we're in the new year. As we're moving along into we got May coming up, and then the summer's coming up. Are there some things we can do health wise, mentally, to help make us a better people, or stronger people, or more intelligent people as we move on through the year? Being this is the first of the year.
yeah. A couple. Another thing that we can do is try to get as much sun as possible. That's another thing, and it also helps prevent COVID. I told you, like I said earlier in the show, your cures are in nature. All of your cures are in nature, and that's one of them. Vitamin D. So that's something to always do. Try to get you some sun every day, at least 30 minutes. At least 30 minutes. I mean, you don't have to be out there all day, so 30 minutes ain't long. So if you're out there, that should be enough.
You know
You
that's
want a little
that
bit more, you might want to stay out longer.
that's another thing that I'm kind of perplexed about is this thing that we call time. 30 minutes, 3 hours, half a day. Our concept when it comes to time is a concept that we get from others. How do we change that?
We changed that number one by going back to our one thing we can do is go back to our old ceremonies and stuff. Like we celebrated the spring equinox. The spring equinox just came a couple of weeks ago. We celebrated that, and we knew that during the spring equinox it was time to plant. This was all instinctive stuff. This ain't stuff that you had to go tell nobody. They knew it. Everybody knew it. You know, uh, and you don't. And I'm telling you because I do this. I go to West Virginia at least 10 10 to 15 times a year, and that's all we do up there. We don't we forage. We doggone we excuse me. We spend a lot of time in the forest. We talk excuse me. We talk about plants. We talk about animals. We build. We do all this stuff. We pray. We dance. And that's another thing that indigenous people do. We dance. Remember back in the day when everybody used to go to the club, we be there in there jamming. Now you go to the club, man, you don't even, heck, if you see anybody out there dancing, it's usually females. You rarely see dudes out there.
So that's a way looking at another way that the culture is broken down, right?
Right. And another thing about dancing, dancing is prayer. That's what it is.
Can you explain that?
It's a form of prayer. It's a form of giving thanks to life, of
Oh,
paying
okay.
back. It's a way of paying back, uh for what life has given you. And also it's good for your health. you know. But like that song say, Goody Mob, we don't dance no more.
Man, I just had a couple of friends come over the other night, and we danced all night. And man, I haven't felt that good in years.
Right. Yeah. That's what our people did. That's what our people did. And me, I came up in the 60s and 70s. I have matter of fact, I have 7 other brothers and sisters that I grew up with. And we all grew up in the same house. Mother had 8 children. We used to make up our own dances. We used to another form of prayer is singing. That's another form of prayer. Another thing that we need to do more of. And I can't sing, but I try.
So all of these things that we used to do, we just gave them to somebody else. Because I see these Koreans, they're doing the break dance, and they even break dancing is even an Olympic event now. So
Yeah, I
everything
saw
that
that. Yeah,
so everything that we create, the rest of the world just comes pick up, and we don't seem to care about it. We cool with it.
exactly. And and if we did, and if we did recognize it, heck, we'll sell it.
Well, Rick, man, this is coming to the end of this night. I got a lot of stuff to do.
Hmm.
Close us out, brother.
Right. Hey, thank you for having me on the show tonight. I really did want to rant tonight, but I kind of thought better of it. But I am going to say this though. I am going to say this though. Uh, I've been talking about this nature stuff for a long time, you know. And if I didn't know, and in order for me to talk about this, because it's a touchy subject, because most people don't even understand it, and to be able to talk, I gotta, and to be able to talk about it, I have to be able to explain it, and to be able to explain it, I instinctively I can defend it. So if anybody out there, because I've been getting a little flack, from people, you know, but I'm telling you, if anybody out there want to have a little debate about this, I will guarantee you this: I'm not gonna lose when I'm using nature as my defense. I'm not losing, and you not winning. The best you can do is break even. Either I'm gonna win or we're gonna break even. Those are the only two results that's gonna come out of it. I've been doing this stuff for too long. I know this stuff up and down. So if anybody wanna challenge me on it and talk about it, we can do it. I don't have no problem with it. And with that, I'm sorry about my attitude, but good night.
So, ladies and gentlemen, you heard it. You're natural beings. You live in a natural world. Start acting like it. Peace, and we'll see you next time. Stay there, Rick. Peace.